Good morning, everyone. Officially, we are so thrilled and excited to be here. We are the Monday Morning Cooking Club, which of course you know because you've all signed up to this Monday Morning Cooking Club event. And we are in Sydney, Australia in the Monday Morning Cooking Club kitchen, and it is 9:05 a.m. on Monday morning. Very, very lucky to have got that right.
Yes.
And we want to say welcome to all of you for tuning in from all over the world.
Thank you.
We've had little chats in the little as you filed in, and we can see you are from all over. We've got Canada, USA, Buenos Aires, Australia, of course, Israel. That's pretty much covers it for the moment, because we know that South Africa is asleep and the UK are asleep.
Yeah.
We can't, there's no possible time in the whole time system to get everybody. So we've got to do it in sections. So welcome. We'd love to do lots more things for you guys, especially for you guys and for everyone who's watching in Australia. So where do we start?
At the beginning.
At the beginning.
Well, we're here for a special reason.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very good point.
Yes.
We are here for the babka, yeah?
Yeah.
And the chiffon, I'm here. No, it's so true. Oh, hello from Cape Town. Why are you awake? It must be
I
midnight.
love that.
Oh my God.
Thank you. Oh, wow. I've got to say,
That's
special
to
shout out.
Jacqueline.
Yeah,
Stop
to
saying
Jacqueline. Special shout out to you. So we are here because our book, Now for Something Sweet, which is this, has been out in Australia since March. And on the 3rd of November, which is a very, well, what sort of date can we call that? It's election day in the USA.
Yeah.
The 3rd of November, our book is being released in the USA, which means it will be available on Amazon from that day, which means USA, Canada, South Africa, you can all buy it from there. And we're really excited because we've been fielding emails from South Africa, I think, for the past 6 months. There's no other way to get it there other than Amazon USA. And Canada and the USA, it's all yours now.
Yeah.
And we're
But
very
I was
excited.
stalking Amazon last night.
Yeah.
And you can pre-order it now. You don't
Yes,
have to wait till the 3rd
That's
of
right.
November.
So go ahead and
so-
pre-order, please. And we would love you all to have it, because then we can talk about it and then we can cook together and do all sorts of fabulous things.
I'm just going to show you some beautiful pictures.
So what I thought we'd do this morning, we'd start with telling you a little bit about the Monday Morning Cooking Club, our story from the beginning, just an overview of where we started and where we are now. And then you'll hear from each of us. We'll give you a little insight into who we are, what we love about the book. And then we're going to do a little cook-along. We're going to make a honey snap biscuit, which is, at the moment, and it does change, my favourite biscuit in the book, because it is simple to make. The dough can sit in the fridge. You can roll it at any time, and they're just a lovely, snappy little biscuit. And I can also tell you that they last really well. I posted some to my family in Melbourne, because the postal system here, because of COVID, is so poor at the moment. It took 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Not seriously, not joking, to get there. And guess what? They're still snappy and they're still good. So you can't get a better test than that. All right. And don't forget, you can put a chat in the chat thing. Just make sure you do all attendees and panelists so that we can all see it and everyone can see what you're saying, so we can
I
share.
got stuck to Austin, Texas in 4 days.
Yeah,
and
can I
so
say?
watch out, honey snaps coming your way.
So exactly. So send them there rather than to.
Yeah, rather than Melbourne.
Lucky I didn't send cake.
Maybe they were eating them along the way. Did you check numbers before and after?
I did. So let me tell you about the Monday Morning Cooking Club for starters. We have been together, well, we got together in 2006, which is a long time ago.
That's a very long time.
And it started because Natty and I used to play, so I should introduce ourselves. Lisa.
Natanya.
Marilyn.
And Jackie.
Okay, so that's who we are. So Natty and I got together. We used to play basketball with Jax, actually.
Yes.
And
I
you'll
was
find
the height.
Yeah, she was the height. We're really short. You can't really tell sitting here, but we're
Yes,
really
you
short.
can.
But we loved basketball. We loved basketball. So Natty came to me one day and said, let's write a cookbook for charity. And I went, great, yeah, sure, let's do it. But we decided we wanted to do not just, we've all had kids at school, and we do those spiral bound books that the schools all do, and they raise money and they're fantastic and they've got their place. But we didn't want to do that. We wanted to do a book that could sit in any bookshop in the world next to the book of any chef in the world. That was where we set our sights.
It was the most craziest idea
It
ever.
was. And we had no idea how to get from there to where we are now. But we thought, okay, let's do it. Let's make a book. We want it to be beautiful. We wanted to have beautiful photos. We wanted to tell stories, all sorts of things. And we just thought, let's start.
We also knew that we had a community
full of the most incredible recipes.
Yeah. So
And stories.
that's right. So we are part of Sydney's Jewish community, and I would say that our community in Sydney, and I could probably say in Australia and the world, is a lot food obsessed.
A lot.
Yeah.
We always say it's always about the food, and for us it is. So we wanted to share that part of our community with the world. So we decided to find the best recipes from the best cooks we could find in the Sydney community. We wrote to friends, we wrote to friends of friends. We asked, who's the best cook you know? Who's the best cook you know? And we went further and further afield, still within the community. And we got hundreds and hundreds of recipes sent in. And then we started testing. And we tested and we retested.
We compared.
We
made
made
lists.
Yeah, all
in,
sorts of things.
out, yes, no, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we sort of got a folder of yeses together, which sort of developed over the years, I must say. I think back in those days, it was still on paper. I don't even think it was really digital yet.
Jackie's probably still got the minutes.
So
I've got the first minutes.
So
We wouldn't have survived without Jackie keeping
I think you would.
on track.
I think the 6th of March 2006 for that
Yes,
first day.
that's the first minute.
So took us 5 years to write the first book, because as I said, we didn't know what we were doing. We had to collect, curate, test crazily. We also had to bring recipes from our own families, find recipes from our childhood. Remember those dishes that we used to eat at a grandmother's or at an auntie's or at a friend's or in a store, and go hunting for those. Because we wanted this snapshot of our community, what we've been eating, what we're cooking. So I would say our first book was not a book of Jewish food, but rather food from Jewish homes, and a snapshot of the Sydney community. So that was our first book. We published in 2011. We should have a book here to show everybody. It was called Monday Morning Cooking Club, the Food, the Stories, the Sisterhood, and we were really proud of it. We ended up self-publishing it. That's a very long story, which I won't tell now, because the publishing scene at that time wasn't excited about, am I allowed to say this? A Jewish book, a Jewish cookbook.
We kept being pigeonholed as Jewish, and we kept saying, well, it's not Jewish food, you know. Yeah, we're Jewish. But it's not Jewish food.
We didn't get published. We had to self-publish, which was a very challenging but worthwhile journey.
Absolutely.
We really wanted to do it. We're really passionate about the project and believed in it, so we went ahead. And book one went really well. We sold our first print run of 13,000 books in about, I don't know, a month. It was incredible, which for Australia, I have to tell you, is a very big number. It was very exciting. We were very proud. And then we got picked up by HarperCollins for the next book. And next book we decided, because we'd been around Australia, we'd done the tour, we'd met lots of people in all sorts of places, and everyone said, can we give you recipes? Can we give you recipes? So we thought, okay, got to go Australia-wide. So first book was Sydney, second book was Australia-wide, and we produced that in 2014 called The Feast Goes On. And that book was the best of the best in Australia that we could find. And it's a beautiful, beautiful collection, sweet and savoury. We've covered food for festivals, food for all occasions, beautiful food and stories from Jewish homes. And I guess something that we said earlier but didn't really talk about in detail is what we love to do. Sorry, I'm going to knock them off. What we love to do, as well as collect recipes, is to collect the stories of the people who give it to us. And it might be our stories, because we've got lots of our own recipes in the book. But it's also stories from these people everywhere. And it makes it a very beautiful, I like to call it a tapestry that we've, woven with people from all over the country, from all different walks of life, just loving food and feeding and nurturing their family. Nurturing and loving their family through food. I think that's a common element with everybody.
Do you remember in the very beginning, we really didn't know how our book was going to sell. We were all very nervous about it. And then we got an email in the first week of book one from a guy, and he said, I've always criticised my wife for sitting in bed and reading cookbooks. And now I'm sitting in bed and I'm reading your cookbook. The stories are just amazing. I don't cook, but I'm just sitting here and, ha. And that's when we thought we're onto something.
And the one story I remember is another lady wrote into us to tell us that she had just bought the cookbook. she'd gotten back to her car, and an hour later, she was sitting in her car crying from reading the stories. I know, it's beautiful. It was different and very touching.
It's nice to go back
very
and think
special.
about it. So second book, Australia, done. Then we thought, well, now that we've covered Sydney and Australia, what's next? But the world. So with our third book, we decided to go global and search the world for the best cooks we could find. And, you know, the world's a very big place. And it took a lot of research and a lot of
it was much harder,
reaching out to people. It was much harder. And of course, you're not going to get, we can't get to every country. We can't get to every community.
People watching today that are amazing cooks, and we don't have your recipes yet.
But we wrote to as many people as we could find. I think that I actually spent a few weeks going to every organisation, Jewish organisation online that I could find in the USA and Canada, and sending them an email saying, hey, we're from the Monday Morning Cooking Club. This is what we do. We're searching for the best cooks in the communities around the world. Do you know anyone in your community who could help me? Like, that's pretty much what we
How many emails do you think you sent out?
Hundreds.
And how many replies did you
get? So we got like 4 replies from it. And I got to give a shout out to, Canada really has done very well, particularly with replying to email.
Toronto especially.
And we found a few people through that way. We tried to use social media. We tried any way we could, other than take 5 years out of our life and go on a world tour, which would be fun.
Which we thought about.
I would have been up for that.
So the problem is that we've got families and kids, and we sort of have a few commitments to stay in Sydney for at least a few months.
And our kids were still young then.
Yeah, they were.
You know,
we were just planning now for our new book to get over to Canada finally, and then something happens in the world.
Exactly. So here we are in Sydney. So third book, It's Always About the Food, was released in 2017 across the world, and I'm just going to run over and grab it because I want to show you the front cover because it is quite gorgeous. Am I allowed to say that?
Yes,
they're all gorgeous.
Yeah.
So the third book, which was 2017, is the one with us on the cover.
But we did fight against having us on the cover
we
for
did,
a while,
I know.
and then we relented.
I know. So the thing is, there were 5 of us then. I should also say we started with 6. There were originally 6 of us. We had Lauren and Paula with us for the first 2 books. And we were a great 6-some. We really loved working together and we had a ball. And then at the end of the second book, they decided to move on and do other things because it is all consuming.
Yeah, and it's been a few years.
Yeah, and it's been a few years, and it is volunteer work. So we, you know, if you want to have a real job, you need to go and have a real job. It's sort of like, this is a fun job. So they left, and then Lynn Nisolo came in for the third book, which is why Lynn is on the front cover with the 4 of us. And Lynn was wonderful for the third book, and then she decided to move on as well. So now we're with the 4 of us.
We're like green bushes sitting on a wall.
Exactly.
Last 4.
So we have the last 4 still standing. And we, in my wisdom, it's actually, they laughed at me at the time, and they're still laughing. I said to them, you know what, when we do the third book, why don't we do a sweet book a year later? Like, the books take us 3 years to write, generally. I said, we'll do a year later. We've got so many sweet recipes because there's something about the Jewish community and cake. You know, for every savoury recipe, you've probably got, I don't know, 4 sweet.
Yeah.
So we were inundated with sweet recipes. I can't tell you how many apple cakes and how many.
So true.
And actually, it's a funny thing because in our very first book where we self-published and we had no idea of the rules of cookbooks, it's half sweet and half savoury, which we were told later by publishers that actually it's meant to be at the most a third. We didn't know, but they were just the recipes we were getting, so we put them in.
Exactly. So it's very much leaning to sweet. So we thought, I've got all these sweet recipes, we might as well just quickly do a book. So after this book was published, we started on that one and realised pretty quickly, I realised that I was wrong and that we couldn't do this in a year because we had not found the recipes that we didn't know. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but we knew that there were so many sweet dishes out there that we wanted. This book was going to be a book of our favourite sweet dishes from across the world from the community. and we knew there was more. So we spent then the next year researching, reaching out again, reading books, finding recipes that we'd never heard of, tasting them all, tasting, choosing, deciding, arguing, debating, so that what we have in this book, which was released, as I said, in Australia in March, is a collection of, it's not an encyclopedic collection of Jewish recipes from the world, because what is in here is our favourites, the ones that we want to make, the ones that we make over and over, the ones that we love. And so we're giving you, I think, a completely curated collection of recipes from the world.
Yeah.
And there are a few dishes from different parts of our community that we don't love. I'm not going to say which ones, but there are some dishes we don't love because they're foreign taste to us and they're not in the book.
And there are some dishes that we just, sometimes we'd never even heard of them.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to follow a recipe when you have no taste reference, no sight reference really about how something should look, how something should taste. It's from another culture. You don't understand any of the context of it. It's really hard to then try and reproduce it and do it justice to the context it came from.
And especially if the recipe comes to us and it's not quite correct, which often happens.
Sorry, and you need to mention about the savoury chapter.
Oh yeah, that's
just want to say the tail wagging behind, if anyone can see it, we've got visitors and they're beautiful. Whoever loves
they also come looking for cake.
Yeah, they do. They come waiting for any scraps that fall on the floor. We do have a savoury chapter because we thought that a whole sweet book was just too much and we needed some sort of salty relief at the end. So we've got a beautiful chapter called A Drink and a Nut. And you can read the story of why it's called A Drink and a Nut.
I just want to say, just while we're on this chapter, can you just flick onto the anchovy twist? So a weekend or two ago, here we go. Someone out of the blue just rang on Saturday afternoon and said, hey, what are you doing? I want to drop something over to you. And I had these in my freezer, unbaked. And I said, sure, come over and have a glass of wine. And I put these on the table. And they're like, who are you?
Domestic goddess.
No, it's
just a little something I had in the freezer.
So great.
How unbelievable is that? It was like, all I had was a wedge of cheese and those, and everyone was happy.
That was my dog drinking, by the way. My dog, I've got a super doodle or a golden doodle, if you're in America, and he's the size of a horse and he drinks like a horse.
He's actually a pony. He's a pony.
All right, so that's the book. That's the overview of this beautiful book. Now for something sweet, and I'm so proud of it. Every time I open it, I can't believe how beautiful it is. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm just
show the
blown away by
spine,
it.
because the spine actually matches Lisa's kitchen colour.
You see this?
And her, you can't see behind.
Someone's asking a cooking question.
Processor.
Love Lisa's golden doodles.
Oh, and it's Jordan.
That's for the honey snap.
Okay, so we will get to the honey snap question. We'll just remember it, which is we only have salted butter. That's fine. Just don't add salt that's in the recipe.
That's right.
We use unsalted butter in Australia for baking because we like to then be able to add how much salt and choose the amount of salt. But if you've got salted, use it. Just don't add salt.
And go ahead, throw your ginger in. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Goes beautiful.
Okay, I have to.
No, she wants to substitute.
I just have to take it. Can I take a quick?
Put your glasses on.
I need to do a quick commercial break because Jordan just said Adam said.
Oh, okay. So Marilyn's son Adam and his wife
Adam
Jordan. They live in Austin, Texas, and they just got married.
Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, isn't that
Yeah,
public?
probably
Is that
are.
not public?
Yeah. Yeah. Hi guys.
Anyway, we've followed along
It's you.
everything, your whole relationship from Maryland. So it's really nice to say hi.
Hi Adam. Hi Jordan. Look forward to meeting you one day. All right.
All right.
Let's move on.
Back to food.
Okay. So we're just going to tell you a tiny bit about each of us. So I'm Lisa. They call me the chief pot stirrer. I'm sure they call me many other things, but that's
Only
what
behind
I
her
am.
back.
Behind
Not
my
to her
back,
face.
exactly. And this is my life and my passion. This Monday Morning Cooking Club project. I eat, sleep, and breathe it. It's what keeps me going, and I love everything about it, including cooking our recipes all the time. That is my repertoire. My family is sort of getting a bit tired of the whole thing because I only cook Monday Morning Cooking Club recipes. But there is an endless supply, so I can keep them happy for a few more years. I started life as a solicitor or a lawyer, or what do you call it, an attorney. And I realized when I used to run up to court from my office that when I stopped off at the food hall at David Jones in Sydney on the way, and I was more interested in what was there than where I was going, I thought, I think I'm in the wrong field. So really food is where my heart is, and I have loved doing this for all these years. My favorite recipe from the book, it's hard to say, it's like picking your favorite child, I think, from this new book, but I have to say, today I'm going to say this one, which is the cherry and cheese strudel. So there was a cafe, bakery called the Gelato Bar in Sydney. It was an iconic part of Sydney's Bondi Beach, and everyone who grew up in Sydney's east knew it, and everyone loved the cherry and cheese strudel and many other things. And they closed a few years ago, and we luckily got the recipe
from the chief strudel poo bar.
That's right.
Yeah.
From the what was she called? The strudologist.
Yeah.
Strudologist. So what happened
That's a word.
is that the one of the owning family, Nilly, a friend of ours who's part of the family that owned it, came to our kitchen and showed us how. Sorry, we got the recipe first. She gave it us. We made it, and it didn't work. And we thought, what are we going to do? So we asked Nilly to come into the kitchen, which she did. She got the strudologist, the original maker of the strudel, on the phone,
very old.
and she actually FaceTime, and we went through it step by step, and it was perfect. And we then practiced it a few times and nailed it. And this recipe is in the book, and it is fantastic.
And if
So
anyone
that's
wants
me.
to come to me for Shabbat dinner this week, there's in 5 days' time, I'm making
Maybe Adam and Jordan will fly in.
Yeah.
for
Wouldn't that be great?
Okay, over to you, Natty.
Hi, I'm Natanya. As you know, I've been with Monday Morning Cooking Club from the beginning. I've got 3 kids. They've grown up literally with me cooking Monday Morning Cooking Club, testing, publishing books. So really that's all they know. And my passion is baking. So I really love, I've got a very sweet tooth. And so I love cooking anything sweet. So this new book, the 4th book, is really my joy. My
Right
joy.
up your alley.
I love it. I could test sweet recipes forever. And I have to say, it's very hard to choose a favorite because it's a book full of amazing things. But I think coming out of winter in Australia, I love cooking with yeast. I love the smell of it. I love the feel of the dough. I love everything about it. So I've got a very warm spot for babka. And we have got an amazing babka recipe in the book. It's actually with 2 different fillings. One is a chocolate tahini babka, and the other is that's the chocolate tahini one. And the other one is the apple cinnamon one, which I made and I brought along this morning. I wish I could share it with you all. But I will be very happy if you find our recipe and make it, because I can tell you it's incredible.
Can we have a look inside?
I have to tell you yesterday when I made it, I added walnuts to it.
She's fessing up now.
A little.
Because we're going to see the walnuts.
Yeah, no,
Well, you
she has to
can't. You
fess
can
up.
see them on the top, but
It's beautiful.
let's cut it.
And I know there are babkas and there are babkas.
No,
but
this
a
babka is. The recipe actually makes 2.
Yeah.
So I made it yesterday,
Unfortunately.
which was the weekend. And the one I had at home, of course, everyone ate. And I just can't tell you how good it was. like really. And I'm very fussy in particular. And I've cooked a lot of different babkas. You've got a good one here.
You have become the babka queen. Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
I can't wait to have a taste of this, actually.
We
It's
need-
very
we
mean
need
to
some.
eat in front of you when you don't have it. There's a whole chat going on there between Jordan,
Oh,
your
yeah.
daughter-in-law, and someone who knows Jordan. But my glasses aren't allowing me to
I
see.
can't
Is
see.
it?
So I'll tell you, it says,
Oh.
saying hello from Austin, Texas. Did I just hear you say hello to Adam and Jordan? My son and wife are close to those 2. Small world. And then Jordan
is a
has
small
said, my
world.
goodness, Mrs. Stenler, Marilyn's Adam's mum, truly a small world. So there you go.
Oh my
There's a
God.
whole chat going on.
Okay, so
Hi.
we're connecting people.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Lisa,
That's so
there's a
nice.
question there that says, does the Amazon book have US measurements?
Yes, it
Yes.
does. We have I must say we spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
We've got US, we've got imperial and metric, so everyone is happy.
Yeah.
And always read at the beginning of the book the kitchen notes, because we
Very
explain
important.
different things there that you might be helpful when you're baking.
Yeah, it's like size of eggs and
all sorts of things. Yeah.
I'm Marilyn, and I don't know where to start apart from the fact that I'm Adam's mother, and I have another child as well, in case anyone's wondering.
It's all about Adam today.
Yeah. I'm also Eliza's mother, and
who also just got married, by the way.
Yes.
Just saying.
We've had a couple of COVID marriages. It's very exciting, and
actually.
yeah. And what can I tell you? I grew up in Perth on the west coast of Australia. By profession, I'm a public relations consultant. I worked in food and wine PR, so it was a nice little segue into book publishing with the gals. And my favourite dish, well, I have loads of them, of course, but the one I grew up with, and it's probably the earliest food memory of mine, is custard chiffon cake. That's the amazing photo.
Beautiful.
And that's the real thing.
And that's the real thing.
This is the real thing. And
it is an exquisite cake.
it's my mother's recipe, and there's a whole spiel around that. But I just want to say that I really did grow up attached with a very tight umbilical cord to my mother and a very tight apron string. And I literally cooked and baked and watched my mother in the kitchen my entire childhood. And then I started cooking and baking really young. So my brother and I had a schnitzel production line. It's 5 years old.
I had that with my
And
kids.
until I was allowed to work with the hot oil, I was in charge of flouring. And then I got up to flour and egg, and then it was flour, egg, breadcrumbs. And finally, I graduated to working with the hot oil. It was great. And the chiffon cake, probably the same. I remember my mother with her Hungarian accent explaining to me how to put in the sugar tiny bit by tiny bit so that the egg whites would whip really firm. And I don't know what Adam's earliest baking memory is, but we certainly used to bake together a lot. And I don't know whether he bakes in Texas or not, probably not.
He may.
But he does cook. And yeah, is that about it? I love Monday Morning Cooking Club and everything that we do and what we've captured. And I feel like our books are such a bridge between our community and people who don't know very much about us. I think that you can show so much of who you are by the food that you make. And I love that people have got this different story about our community because of our books. Makes me really proud.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Very nice.
We have Savannah Goldring. Oh, shouldn't say sooner. Savannah.
No, it's fine. She's
who's
written
in
it to
Sydney.
everybody, so everyone can see it.
So
Yeah.
you can have a look. She's 14 years old and loves baking, going through all our sweet recipes, loves the book.
Oh,
And
making
loves
the
making the
dobosh.
dobosh.
Yeah, and the French vanilla
French
slice.
vanilla slice.
You know, the French
You are
vanilla
awesome.
slice, I have been craving it since we published the book. I haven't made it since we published, and I need to make it.
We
I am
need to make
craving
it. I
it.
think we
It's
should
such a
have
good
some.
vanilla
Okay,
slice.
We need to
I
have
need to shout out Savannah. We must be energetically related because I made dobosh torta for the first time when I was 16. And it took me till about midnight on a school night. And my mum was cross with me that I wouldn't go to bed. And it was really hard work. And I didn't make it again until this book. But I love it. I love it.
Oh, so well done,
pet
Savannah.
project of mine. I
Amazing.
love
And
it.
it's a great recipe. That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Sandra from Brisbane. Great to see you here. Very exciting.
I know
having
there's
all
a lot
these
of people
here.
watching
Yeah.
all the way around.
I just want to say, before I get to Jax, can I just give a shout out to Miriam? Miriam, who is in our book from Curacao.
Yeah.
No, maybe you're now living in, I can't remember, it's
Miami?
Florida. Yeah, I think so.
Miami.
You are going to get your book hopefully any day now because the others have got theirs. So hopefully you'll get it. You'll have your hands on it. And this is Miriam's recipe. This is Monas de
I
chocolat.
love that
They are
recipe,
these
Miriam.
beautiful little chocolate buns, chocolate and aniseed buns that are
Yes.
amazing. Also with yeast and one of our
I
favourites.
love it.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Thank you so much for giving us that recipe.
Jax, over to you.
So I'm Jackie, and I started at the very, very beginning, and I really couldn't cook when I started, could I, Les?
No, you always cook.
I could do a dinner party, but I couldn't really do things with yeast and, you know, sugar thermometers and things. And I really came on board to support Lisa because we'd done a few projects before, and my forte was organisational skills, putting things in alphabetical order, colour coding, rearranging, and organising and tidying. So that was what I could offer to the group. So I came on board thinking I'd do this 1-year project for the spiral bound folder that quickly got shoved out the door, and all of a sudden I was part of making a book to go on a bookshelf, which was just bizarre. I mean, as I say, I couldn't really cook. And then things changed. You know, practice makes perfect, and I practiced and I cooked and I every Monday and then Tuesdays and sometimes Thursdays and Fridays we'd be cooking, and my cooking, you know, just became quite good.
That's pretty
It
good.
became quite the
Pretty good.
Bullabuster, so I'm very proud of that. But what I love is that we would meet every Monday and catch up on our weekends, on our kids, on our families, on anything that was going on. And it really became quite a special time to be together.
Yeah.
And I've really noticed it during COVID that we don't really have that catch-up time.
absolutely.
So I don't know what we're going to do about
Just
that.
on COVID, can I just explain, because there's a lot of people around the world who don't know what stage we're at. So in case you're thinking that we're sitting really, really close to each other, like, thank God, right now in Sydney, there is almost no coronavirus. There's about 3 cases a day. And I'm not saying that to gloat, although of course it makes us very happy and very relieved.
Very grateful.
But it means that legally we are actually allowed to sit like this without masks on. So please don't think that we're being reckless.
Flippant.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And our heart goes out to everyone who
wherever
is
you are.
suffering through this
Yeah,
time.
really a big shout out and hug to everybody in the world who's doing it tough, which is a lot of people we know. But we are very, very grateful every single day. I think everyone I see in Sydney walking the dog or in the park,
The chills.
everybody says, so lucky to be here at the moment. So hopefully everyone else in the world, you'll follow soon if you're not there yet. Thanks, Marilyn. That was a good thing. Jack's your favourite recipe?
My favourite recipe is fragilda.
We all know that that's Jackie's favourite.
Sorry, Marilyn.
That's all right. Decapitate me.
That is what it looks like.
It's from the savoury chapter.
It's from the savoury chapter, and it is a Turkish sort of
cheese.
focaccia is the word.
Cross between a focaccia and a Turkish bread.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's
so
dotted with little bits of feta on top and then grated cheddar cheese. But the outside is this super crispy, you just want to tear the edge off. I just want to eat from the edge, but inside it's like a crumpet.
Yeah,
so
it's
you get
exactly
that,
right.
You get that.
You need to
get
say what a
crust.
crumpet is for people in America.
Do Americans know crumpets?
It's just soft and pillowy inside and
Yes.
very crunchy on the
Yes,
outside. So
and
it's beautiful.
I
Cheesy.
love that you can either put it on a wooden board with a big sharp knife and everyone can just take a chunk, or you can almost rip it apart. Actually, it doesn't really matter because it's gone before you even have to worry about it.
It's really
And it's
actually-
delicious.
I think it would be very good on a Thanksgiving table.
It would really be good on any table, to be honest.
Any
It's
table,
really-
any time.
It's just, it is dangerous because you can't stop it at one piece, so
It
you can
is
eat the whole thing.
absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Sandra is here from Miami. I'm going to say this right. Sandra has a recipe in our book for, I'm going to say it, tell me if this is right, Fijuela. How's that?
It sounds
Did
very
I do
sexy.
well?
It sounds very sexy.
Does Sandra know the backstory?
Sandra gave us a recipe. Sorry, it's in the
Sandra, I
here.
can't wait to show you the beautiful photo of it.
And your book
Ready?
should be on the way
Go.
too.
Let me go nice. And
That's the
close.
Fijuelas.
They're the fish whalers, fried, and they're the pastry hanging.
So you pretty much make a beautiful dough, like making a pasta dough, and then you fry the strips and put them in a syrup. They
sugar
are
syrup,
divine.
How do you say it again? How do you say it again?
Wait, she has to do a low voice. Fijuela.
Fijuela.
It sounds beautiful and it tastes even
how did
better.
2
she
or
do?
3 years.
No.
We said, what did we call them?
Fish whalers.
Fijuela. Fijuela.
With our Aussie accent.
And I think, I can't remember if it was Sandra we asked or Miriam who said it. Someone posted on our Instagram how to say it. So we were listening to it. It was Sandra.
Yes.
Fijuela.
Fijuela.
Fijuela. Perfect. Yay. So, all right, I think that we should get cooking because otherwise we'll be here all day. We don't mind, actually. We could honestly, I could, you could too.
Well,
Yeah,
I need a little cup of
And
tea.
chat to you all day about all things Monday Morning Cooking Club. But please ask any questions you have. We're going to just shift over now to the cooking part of the kitchen so that we can show you our honey snap biscuits. And we're going to move quite quickly because we don't want to keep you here all day.
So Lisa and Maddie are going to do the cooking, and Jack and I just get to swan around having a good time.
I'm going to try and read those messages.
Oh, that would be
All right,
nice.
so we're just going to move you over. Bear with us while we take you through the journey across the thing. Oh, thanks,
We'll try
Jack.
and not put our
Yeah,
backs to you too
Across
much.
Left, right.
No, that's pretty good. I think we've got it right.
Okay.
Okay, so I can actually read beautifully from here, I must say.
Okay.
Thank you, Ruth from Melbourne, who says, I so love your books, girls, and I'm in awe of your cooking skills. Oh, thank you, Ruth. You know, it's just we've been practicing for so long, and that's the thing I always like to tell people is that if you find a recipe, especially that you find daunting in any way, just do it a couple of times and you'll nail it.
Yeah.
Jax, can you just put this back tiny? Too much.
Maddie, also explain to everyone that for some of the stuff that's a bit more tricky, we have the how-tos in the book. We haven't explained
yes, actually, that's true. You know, I told you how much I love working with yeast, and I know that a lot of people are a bit nervous to do that, so they bypass that sort of recipe. Well, we have in our book 7 how-tos. One of them is yeast. So step by step, generally how to bake with yeast. Another one is how to sugar, how to chiffon for first-time chiffon makers.
How to make custard.
How to custard, and
We're really testing our
and the
memories
how
now.
to pastry. So anyone, because I always come across people and they say, oh, I'd love to make that, but I don't work with yeast.
Yeah.
Now you can.
Yeah. We really
Just follow step by step. We worked very hard at making it very easy and doable for anyone
We
to
just
follow.
asked ourselves, what did we want to know when we started out? What instructions did we want? You know, the internet's a great place, but this just nails it. I've got to say, these how-tos.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get on to the honey snap biscuit. So this is a recipe that comes from Carolyn Levette in Perth, who we met when we went to Perth for the first part of our tour in March, which was the last part of our tour because of COVID-19. Carolyn Levette. What did I say?
Levette.
Carolyn Levette. Sorry, Carolyn. Thank you. And this is a recipe we have been making for years and years. It was on our website before it was in our book. And we're just going to run through it. The dough is divine.
And what's wonderful, it's actually quite a big recipe. It makes loads of biscuits. So every Rosh Hashanah, because it's a honey snap biscuit, I make about 2 batches, package them up and give them away as gifts. It's a lovely gift.
So we've just done a step ahead. So we're going to start by creaming together the brown sugar and the butter. It's 185 grams or in ounces. Can't read it from here. Can you read that?
Yep, 6.5 ounces of butter.
Yeah, so unsalted if you have a salt. If you've only got salted, use salted. 6.5 ounces of butter.
And 220 grams or 7 3/4 ounces of brown sugar.
So we've beaten them together. We didn't want you to have lots of noise, and I want to show you how nice and fluffy. Make sure the butter is at room temperature. That's the most important thing. Okay, it's really luscious.
It's really important when you're working with large quantities to give it the time to really cream well, not to rush that step.
So to the creamed mixture, so if you're following along, get that on now. We just don't want to have too much noise. And beat it. It's going to take a couple minutes till it is really light and creamy.
We might just...
Karen's asked, what is ground mixed spice? Is it allspice?
No, allspice is a berry. This is not allspice. This is mixed spice, which is a spice mix put together by spice companies. And I really should tell you what it is, and it changes. It's pretty much got nutmeg, cinnamon, ginger.
I think it's got a bit of cardamom in it.
So it's just a lovely baking spice mixture, and you can use any spice mixture you like. And you could even use allspice if you want. It just is another flavour.
I think in the USA you can buy Thanksgiving spice blends, and you could just pop in some of that Thanksgiving spice blend.
Yeah.
So we're just going to keep beating the brown sugar and the butter, and I'm going to add in the egg, which of course I've checked in the glass just to make sure it's not off or anything bad. And that's going to just put it in. And then once that is combined, which takes a second, we're going to add the honey. Now I did oil the thing before I put the honey in, but what I find is if it sits for too long, it just absorbs the oil and sticks anyway. But let's see how we go. So we've got 90 grams, which is 1/4 of a cup of honey. And any honey you like. I like, for my taste, very simple, supermarket honey. Just a nice Australian brand of honey. What do you like? Something a bit fancier?
I always use an organic honey because I prefer that. And I actually like a honey with a bit of taste to it, a bit of flavour. So something a bit stronger. So that's it. Everything is well combined, and that's it for the mix master, for the stand mix. So we're going to just scrape this off.
And Carol suggested that you can use a pumpkin pie spice.
That's right.
Oh,
That would be beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Beautifully.
But any spice you like. It's just a spiced honey biscuit. So if you're a ginger fan, put more ginger. If you're not a cinnamon fan, you can leave it out.
Yeah.
So now we need to sift together the dry ingredients. That's the flour for the rolling.
Oh, I see. So what I have here is 3 cups. That's 1 pound of plain, or in America you call it all-purpose flour. And then I've also got 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda or bicarb. And then here I've got my spices, which we have mixed spice, ginger, cinnamon, and a little bit of salt, because we started with unsalted butter.
Yeah, and the salt is, it's actually 1/4 of a teaspoon or 1/2 teaspoon of salt for this recipe, 1/2 teaspoon, because it does need the salt. So if you are using salted butter, I would taste it. I don't know at what point though. Yeah.
Can I
This is quite salty. This will be quite salty. Yeah. So we're mixing in the spices. We've got a teaspoon of ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of mixed spice. So that's 2 teaspoons in total of spice. And
And we've got a question here, can you use gluten-free flour?
Yeah, I've actually been wondering about, I'm gluten-free, and I've been wondering about making it with gluten-free flour. I actually think that you could. But of course, gluten-free always has a different texture, and you might need to play around with what brand of gluten-free flour works best for it.
How do you think it will roll out?
I would roll it between 2 pieces of silicone paper, and it's going to be more fragile, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. If you're used to, you'll also have a slightly different flavour, I think. At the end of the day.
It's a texture thing.
Yeah.
Do you think flavour as well? It depends on the flour.
Yeah, no, more texture,
Really
you're right. But if you're used to that texture anyway, because you always use gluten-free flour, then go ahead and give it a go.
And Barbara's asked, she's looking at getting a new mixer. What would you recommend?
Well, we're all fans of KitchenAid. I think we all have KitchenAid.
Yeah, I love my KitchenAid.
I do now.
It's not perfect. It has got some slight issues in sometimes you can't get to the bottom of the bowl, but you can actually move the...
You know, there's an adjustment.
Yeah, there's an adjustment.
You can YouTube it.
No, I've done it. You need a screwdriver.
Yeah, and you just slide a piece of paper.
Yes, I've done it.
Yeah.
Sorry, so I'm adding the dry ingredients, which have been sifted together, into the thing by hand. I just don't want to toughen the biscuits, so I find doing it by hand is a bit safer. But if you want to do it slowly in the beater, mix master, you probably could.
Gosh,
Okay.
You just don't need to over mix it, just till it's all, can I just go?
Yeah.
Just till it just comes together and then stop.
That's very true. If you beat it too much with the
It's
flour,
about
you're going to
beating too
toughen the
much,
biscuit
yeah.
because you'll activate the glutens in the flour.
So we're just mixing it together and it will come together to form a lovely dough, which needs to sit in the fridge for an hour. I did a little experiment last night to see what if you baked it, if you rolled them straight away. And you can if you really have to. It's just more difficult to roll.
I feel like that this dough particularly is quite soft, so it really helps to roll it if you've firmed it up in the fridge.
Yeah.
You know how you said it's quite a large quantity of dough? Because you're putting it in the fridge anyway, is this a sort of dough that you could divide up and put sections of it into the freezer?
100%. Yeah,
so that you could always
absolutely.
have,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be, I'd love to do that.
So you can see this is it. It's just been a
Just
minute
show
of
the
mixing.
bowl.
I will.
I aspire to be that person that can
To have
always
their
just
freezer.
pluck something out homemade.
So
Well,
this is
you
the
are.
dough. And it's so yummy.
I know,
I've been
it is
eating it all
very yummy.
weekend. And I just want to show you that It's just very sticky now, not very, a little bit sticky.
It's
And
not
you
good to
need a
roll
lot
that.
of flour to roll that out successfully. You do need flour, but this is I'm gonna put this into a ball now and wrap it in plastic wrap and put it in the fridge for an hour or a day or a few days or in the freezer, just like this.
Can you
Okay.
tell them how much butter and how much flour?
Yeah, so we have got,
I can tell you. It is 185 grams of unsalted butter. That is 6.5 ounces. And the butter needs to be at room temperature.
like that's really important.
Yeah, so it's a soft butter.
Yeah.
And 450 grams, it's either 3 cups or 1 pound of plain or all-purpose flour.
When you say room temperature, what happens if you in winter and it's cold?
Yeah, you need to put it in a warm place.
Yeah, just you need it to be soft so that it leaves a dent when you put your thumb in it.
Yes, not just a fingerprint, but an actual indent.
Yes.
So this is the dough, which is it's just a beautiful dough. I after sitting in the fridge, it just sort of settles and comes together and firms up, and it's just a beautiful smelling, feeling, lovely dough.
From here.
I'm using this size cookie cutter, which is about a one inch and a bit. I'm using and doing little ones.
It's a little bit smaller than the recipe actually makes bigger ones, 2.5 inch or 6 centimeters. But actually, this year I made mini ones as well, and they're just gorgeous. Or you can make them shaped. It's really lovely. In our picture in our book, we made flower ones. It's this one here.
Just be careful with shapes. If they're too fine, the biscuits rise. So if you want to do like a pointy star, the points, like it just tends to expand a little bit when it rises and you lose some of the shape. So just be aware of that.
And to the lady who asked about gluten-free, I would be doing the smaller shape because they're easier to work with because gluten-free flour is more fragile.
So Lisa's floured her bench top and her rolling pin.
And if you prefer to use
I prefer
paper underneath, then go ahead. You know, there are different ways of doing this, but I'm just as happy to do it like this. You've probably got a different idea.
I
of the
prefer
best
to
way
use
to roll
it
it.
between
Two pieces
two pieces of baking paper. You don't want too much flour added to your dough either.
And I think it's quite forgiving. So I'm sort of happy. Just make sure it's not sticking though. And I do have a palette, a large palette knife, which is a really good thing. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay, so it's 200 grams of brown sugar and 185 grams of 200 grams of brown sugar and 185 grams of butter. And then it's just a matter of putting these onto a prepared, I've just got some baking paper. Can you see that?
You should note that Lisa's not rolling out that whole huge amount in one go, because that would just be too difficult to work with. Quarter it, even and just work in small amounts. So, and the rest can just rest in the fridge while you're.
It's as easy as that.
And they don't stick at all to the.
And I've just floured it quite well, which makes it easier. You can also, let's show one rolling out on baking paper, and you could actually just do that on the baking paper and then get rid of the scraps and put that baking paper in the oven.
And actually,
you could do it that
I
way.
would do with gluten-free.
Yes, because the less you move it.
The less you move it, the easier it's going to be.
You can see it's a very, very lovely dough to work with. It's not difficult. You can see how easy it is. We're not doing anything special here. So just roll them out.
Do you want a piece of paper?
And I did bake some last night, which I didn't cover or put away, so they're not snappy like they should be. But you can see how they look at the end, because we don't have time. They take 10 minutes to bake, so I don't want to.
And do you reuse your scraps and re-roll?
So this is what they look like afterwards.
Absolutely.
They have risen a little bit, and they're lovely, and they're supposed to be snappy, and they're not, because they have not been in an airtight container. But if you find that your biscuits are soft, you just need to cook them for a little bit longer. I should say, when they come out of the oven, they will be soft. So when they cool, if they're still soft, you need to bake them for a bit longer.
What do you want a piece of paper to do?
And also, you need to don't roll them if they're too thick. They're not going to snap out.
Yeah. So you need to really try to get them.
Is that 1/8 of an inch?
I don't know what
3
it is.
millimeters.
It's hard to tell, really, isn't it? I guess you put them together and see how many make an inch. Not that we know what an inch is, really.
I'm just looking for
It's
your
probably a
ruler.
third of a centimetre, which is 3 millimetres.
That's not an inch.
No, which is half an inch. Yeah, let's call it an eighth of an inch,
I
okay?
think it's an eighth.
So if I was defrosting the pastry, you can either put it in the fridge overnight, which gives it a very slow defrost, or if you're in a hurry like I usually am, take it out, leave it on the bench in the kitchen for a couple of hours. This has been out, I just want you to know, since 7:30 this morning on the kitchen bench, out of the fridge, and it's fine. It's really a very easy to work with dough. There's just nothing precious about it, which makes it one of our favourite recipes. So the other way, I don't know why I need to do that. Because we don't mind that it's going to stick, right? You do need to flour the rolling pin.
Don't you put it between 2 pieces?
I do, and then
That's
you don't
what I
use
do.
flour at all.
Yeah.
You know, you can. Do you want to do that? That's absolutely fine. But it rolls out so well. I've got to say for this one, you really don't need to. It's just
Doesn't stick to the
it
roll.
doesn't stick at all to the rolling pin. But that's another way of doing it. If you find yourself sticking to the paper, your dough sticking to the paper, then you should.
Look at that.
Sorry, sticking to the rolling pin.
Voila.
So that's it. Is that a bit thick?
A little bit on this one.
Yeah.
So this is another way of doing it. And we've all learnt our own ways of doing things over the years. And I don't think there's anything we all do identically, but, you know, it's all good. And then again, just like this, and you can leave them there like this, and then remove the scraps like that, if you prefer. Or you can move them, whichever way.
If you're going to reuse the scraps, you need to rest it a little bit
Yeah,
again.
I do. I leave, that's a really good question. I put the, just come in so you're in the picture. I put the scraps in a pile on the bench and pile them up and get to them last.
Yeah.
So they just sit there and rest a little bit.
But I put them back in the fridge.
Yeah. You don't really need to though, because they've rested a lot and they're going to sit there for at least 10 minutes while you do the rest of the cookies.
And Maureen has said there's another opinion. If you like them soft and chewy, you go thicker and shorter time in the oven.
Yeah.
If you want to change it up.
But I would say that if you want a soft and chewy honey biscuit, then you go to our third book, It's Always About the Food, where we have a soft and chewy honey biscuit.
That's beautiful.
I think these honey snaps are meant to be snappy, and I feel that when they're not snappy, they taste more stale than soft and chewy.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
Yeah.
I made the spice biscuits last week. Is that from third book?
That's
the
Is
second
that the
book.
one?
Second
No,
book.
molasses.
Oh, molasses
Oh, the
cookies from our
molasses-
new book.
Molasses
Yeah.
cookie.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the other ones on the
Yeah.
same
And
page.
they're soft and
Yeah.
chewy.
So come on in, Jax. Why don't you come on in, because we'll head off in a minute.
Rounding up. Now you can see the height.
Now you can see them. Can you see the
Yes,
height? Oh yes. Jax has to bend
Abdullah.
down.
Oh, yeah.
Any more questions before we head off? Because we have got a couple minutes left. But I hope you've enjoyed cooking along with us. I'm sorry it was very quick, the cooking part. We have another Zoom set up for a week's time where we're going to go step by step and make fragilda together.
Yay.
I say step by step, except that it does have to rise for an hour on the bench. And we're not going to sit here for an hour waiting for it to rise. So we will have done that step ahead, but you'll still see us do every step, and we will go through everything properly. Good question. 180 degrees Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit,
10 minutes.
not fan forced for 10 minutes, and then check them. Mine sometimes, my first batch normally needs about 11 to 12 minutes, but check after 8, make sure.
And but just before we sign off, also, I just wanted people to know Barnes & Noble, Amazon, you can pre-order the book and it'll get to you as close to November 3 as possible.
Yeah, also Book Depository.
In Australia. Book
Now,
Depository.
you won't be automatically registered for the next session, but you will receive an email from us tomorrow morning, which will have the link for the next session.
Same
which you can
time
sign
next
in.
week,
It's
isn't it?
actually same time next week. So
Yeah.
those of
Hopefully-
you in the USA and Canada, it'll be the afternoon, and for us Sydney folks, it's 9 a.m. again. So we hope to see all of you here and more. Please share it with your friends, because the more the merrier. I think we have over 300 people here today, which is just beautiful, and we're very excited. But let's build a beautiful community now across the world.
Yeah.
So remember, now for something sweet, available online for pre-order for those of you in the US and Canada. And here is Carol from Atlanta, Georgia. Is that Georgia?
Yes.
Yes, it is, GA.
Ordered all of your books
Wow.
after I participated in my first Zoom video making the crunch salad. After reading through your Facebook page and blog, it is amazing that no matter where our ancestors landed, the familiarity of the food and the stories behind them links Jews together universally.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
nice.
Beautiful.
That's
So
right.
nice.
And we feel very connected to everybody out there. Those of you who are part of the Jewish community and those of you who are not, we're all together in this world sharing our love
Of food and eating
and
and
that's why we're
family
here.
and love.
And we've also never done this before with the USA. Sorry. So
No,
if there's something that you feel you want to cover with us, can you please get in touch and let us know, because we're really happy to do more and more of these.
Yes.
But it's very hard for us to gauge from here where we go.
That's what I wanted to say. We love hearing from you. So please, if you make the honey snaps, if you cook something from our website or from one of our other books, please let us know how it went, what it looks like. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we love to chat with you guys.
So we could really sit down and have a cup of tea and stay another hour with you. I think we'd all be very happy to do that. But thank you, and thank you, Debbie, thank you, Carol, Jacqueline, everyone. Jacqueline asked about the book in South Africa. You need to go through Amazon USA. That's the only way we can find to get to South Africa, which is just crazy. I know. That's the world at the moment.
Unless you know someone coming over there, which ain't
happening. Exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. It's been beautiful being with you, and we are going to see you next time. This is going to be recorded. It's going to be on our YouTube channel under Zoom webinars, and you can watch it all over again. So see you all. I'm going to do that awkward little thing now, going over to switch off.
And we'll do the awkward thing standing here and waiting.
And I'll just stand here.
But everyone take care. Take care.
Yes,
Be
yes,
safe. Yeah.
Have a great week, everyone.
And go and cook. Lots of love.